Sponsored by Skillshare. Get 2 months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. Link in the description. You all know by now that Apple doesn't always host an event in October. Thanks to the iPhone, the September event is a lock. But October, it's much more like a likely. Some years, it's brand new Macs and iPads for everyone. Others, just press releases dropped at dawn. But this year, it feels like Tim Cook and company might just put sneaker to keynote stage one more time. And announce what exactly? I'm Rene Ritchie, and this is my October 2019 Apple event preview. Unlike the iPhone event, which always seems to land on the second Tuesday, sometimes Wednesday of September, the iPad and Mac event has just been scattered around the second half of October. The location has also moved around more. Where the September event has always been in and around the Bay Area, the October event has moved from its roots in Town Hall at Infinite Loop to, last year, the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York. This year, well, we'll just have to wait and see. There is one thing that I can predict with a very high degree of certainty though. Video montage or no, when the lights come on, Tim Cook will walk out and say, "Good morning!" The September event came and went with nary a mention of one of the biggest rumors of the year, and something I'd been particularly interested in seeing made manifest: Apple tags. We did get the new U1 spatial positioning chip in the new iPhone's 11, though right now it's relegated to singling someone out for priority airdrop. But we didn't get the little U1 discs to go with them. You know, the ones with tiny Apple logos that we could put on or in anything and use Apple's new Find My service to precisely pin down. If the tags simply weren't ready for September and Apple didn't want to risk another overpromise and underdeliver AirPower moment, well, maybe they're ready now. Tim Cook could do those honors himself, but since we didn't get to see Senior Vice President of Software Engineering Craig Federighi back in September, and the bits here are going to be so much more interesting than the atoms, maybe he could do the honors instead. If so, run and done, and back to Tim. Last year, Apple started with the Mac, and they needed to. The MacBook Air hadn't seen a major update since Steve Jobs re-announced it almost a decade prior, and the Mac Mini had been stuck in a rut for years. This year, there's arguably a Mac that needs an update even more today, but I think it might just be a headliner worth holding off until the very end. So maybe the iPad Pro takes the lead instead. Tim could give us a recap of last year's big redesign, show us a video of what we're all doing with it, and then hand off once again to Vice President of Hardware, John Turnus, for the next iteration. After all, Jaws already had his fun with the new 10.2-inch iPad last month. Now, some people might be wondering, even out loud, what Apple could possibly do to get those of us who bought the new iPad Pro last year to upgrade again this year. The answer is, that is entirely the wrong question. Apple doesn't think that way. Outside of tech pundits, no one does. There are people who upgrade every year, sure, personally and professionally, but they're basically a done deal. Apple has them at new. For everyone else, the vast majority of everyone else, Apple just wants to make it so that whether you're buying for the first time in a few years or the first time ever, you have something damn good to buy, the best current product you can get. What does that mean for this year? Well, rumor has it a very iPhone Pro-like camera system with telephoto, wide angle, and ultra wide angle. And it wouldn't just be the first 3-camera system on an iPad. It would be the first multi-camera system. And, if memory serves, the first time the iPad camera is treated with anything approaching the seriousness of the iPhone camera. Given how good that camera is and how big the iPad Pro viewfinder is, that might just be a match made in cinematic 4K heaven. An A13 or A13X processor is the closest thing we have to a sure thing as well, which should propel iPad performance even further ahead of what anyone else is doing at anything approaching mobile these days. As to the rest of the usual nerd wish list, Apple hasn't gone OLED on the iPad yet because of supply limitations, price points, and the problem getting uniform brightness on a panel that big. If any of that has been solved for, we could see it. But recent Guomingqi rumors suggest Apple is holding off for mini LED next year or the year after. It's just a better solution for that problem. And yeah, get your Beyond Retina XDR snarks ready. We got USB-C last year, but Thunderbolt 3 would still require PCIe architecture, something which I think is still limited to just the internal storage controller for now. Personally, I'd love it if the true depth camera would move from portrait to landscape orientation, and for the smart keyboard to get a smart trackpad, so the universal input circle would finally be complete. But as we all know, I just don't every time get what I want. Maybe we'll also see an update on Adobe Photoshop for iPad, if that's making progress, and we'll no doubt get a video. Then, back to Tim. Apple's been really aggressive with MacBook Pro updates lately. Even after we got Coffee Lake last year, we got the Vega Pro in the fall, then Coffee Lake Refresh again this spring. So did the iMacs, non-Pro of course. The other MacBook, not so much. Sure, the Air is running Amber Lake, which cries every time it sees an Apple AX series, at least for now, but maybe Intel could do something to put just a little more punch in its performance. You know, before Apple announces the first MacBook on ARM at some point in what feels like the increasingly fast approaching future. Any event now, seriously, please. The Mac Mini though, which absolutely languished until last year's October event, could use an overt sign of Apple's continued love. So it'd be great to see Tim hand off to head of Mac product marketing, Tom Boger, for that, or Colleen Novielli, head of iMac product marketing, for something similar on the iMac Pro side, since those Xeons are still the same as they were when Apple announced it back during WWDC 2017. Roll it all into a single. We're also updating some of our favorite Mac slide or two, if they have to. Just keep that stuff coming and keep it regular. And yeah, an iMac redesign would be terrific too. It's been a 5K minute since the last one, but it feels like Apple might just let the iMac play follow-up on that this year. Even though now that there's a new Mac Pro and Pro Display XDR coming, that iMac Pro is going to have to stay on its toes and maybe even up its own display game. Speaking of which, some final details on the Mac Pro, including
how much are the wheels going to cost?
How many do you want?
I mean, yeah. How many do you need?
would make a lot of sense, and so would exact availability. Then, again, back to Tim. Is it one more thing worthy? I don't know, but I know that I want it. The butterfly keyboards have been the most divisive thing to happen to the MacBook line in general, and the Pros in particular since, well, ever. And the failure rates have been one of their biggest failures. So, what I absolutely do want to see is that new scissor switch keyboard. Rumor has it Apple's been working on it for a while, and hopefully they've given the Pro Workflows team full time and furious feedback on it to make sure it really stands up to Pro usage. That alone would be a huge upgrade, regrade, fix grade. But rumor also has it Apple's going to continue their war on bezels by taking the 15-inch display all the way to 16 inches and in roughly the same package size. There could be other stuff thrown in as well. I for one would love, capital L love, Face ID on the Mac, but just fixing the keyboard and escalating the display would make it the upgrade pretty much everyone has been waiting for. And then just cherry on top it with the Air getting the new keyboard too. Apple TV Plus is still coming up, so there's always a chance we'll hear more about that, and possibly more about the expansion of Apple's other services as well. Last year, we had Angela Ahrendts up in between Mac and iPad talking about Today at Apple. So this year, we could have an update from Deirdre O'Brien. Or, since Lisa Jackson didn't make an appearance back in September, we could get an update on Environment this October. Maybe Susan Prescott if there are any big iWork or education announcements to fold in. And while it still feels way too early for glasses, there are also rumors of over-the-ear AirPods, AirCans, ProPods, that have yet to see the light of stage light. Some, none, or all of that could make an appearance before Tim Cook comes out one last time to wrap us all up. If I was a better animator, I could nutshell that for all of us. But that's why we have Kyrgyzakt and Skillshare. And luckily, Kyrgyzakt on Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in photography, video, business, technology, everything you need to make your life better. In Motion Graphics Part 1, Kyrgyzakt covers all the basics, setting up your After Effects project, introducing workflow and working with expressions using a typical Kyrgyzakt scene. Yeah, RIP little birds, seriously, so many. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes on must-know topics, so you can get better at your job, get a better job, or just learn something fulfilling that's not your job. To sign up, visit the link in the description and get 2 months of unlimited access to thousands of classes for free. Act now and start learning today. Thanks Skillshare, and thanks to all of you for supporting the show. So that's how I see the October 2019 Apple event going down, if it goes down. Nothing is confirmed until the invitations go out. But That's why I want to hear what you think. Hit like if you do, subscribe if you haven't already, kurkazak that bell gizmo so YouTube will actually let you know when future shows go live, and then hit up the comments and let me know. What do you still want to see from Apple this year? Thanks for watching. See you next video.